Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial slash build for the engineer here in Warhammer Online Return of Reckoning, the private server. Today we're going to talk about a very unique build for the engineer, the warband crowd control build, which has two main roles: debuff and control the backline slash casters and healers. The thing you need to know about this build is you need an organized warband to run it with. You need to understand that this build is not designed to output damage or survivability. You just have a role to play. And 3, it's a build you cannot play every single day, because as soon as people realize what you're doing, they will change the playstyle or kill you first, and then you'll be rendered useless. However, if you do play this once a week or every other day you rotate engineers from your guild, then you should be alright running this. If you want a different playstyle, you want to try a few different things into the game. It has been used in the past couple of years back. It had wonderful effects, but everybody likes to play with damage. But here's an alternative for the gameplay of the engineer. Also, this build, you can modify this heavily on gear, on talismans, on tactics, and pretty much anything you want, and adjust it to your playstyle. More defensive, so you don't need so much support; more aggressive, so you can output more damage. I'll give you some examples, but we'll start with the one I want to run in 2022, and then I'll give you some ideas for the rest, and you guys can take it from there and adjust it to your own game style. So let's go and see what gear we need. As far as the gear is concerned, I would personally recommend a full Warlord, so we can also get the 800 armor debuff, or a full Shield Master, so we can apply 40% slow. Now the 40% slow, it's something very unique, and you can only use this in open field, and if you do happen to have a warband with full Bright Wizard, you need to buy time for them to bomb harder. Something that it won't be happening, pretty often. But the 800 armor is something you can allow your tanks and your melee DPS such as Slayers and Lions to apply more damage, and you can keep it up almost all the time if you want to. So it can save up some other people to do some other skills rather than just debuffing, since you have AoE armor debuff. Now you can also remove this buffs if you want and run it with different gear. Like I said, this is a very flexible build, so you can make the normal DPS combo between Shield Master, Gadget Master, or Victorious or Triumphant if you want to be more aggressive. The important thing is the tactics and morals we're going to see a bit later for applying those debuffs. However, I would recommend a full Warlord just for the armor debuff to allow other classes to focus on some other things. So let's go and see the rings really quickly. So for the jewelry, we're going to need the Genesis remnant of the sharpshooter and the Genesis aspect of the sharpshooter. This will give us 36 range power and 24 initiative, along with wounds ballistics, and combine another 37 ballistics. In this build, I'm trying to go to a medium path where we're going to have some damage and while doing all the controlling. Like I said, you can go more defensive if you want, you can go more aggressive. For the third ring, we're going to go for the Sentinel on the ranked, which one you had. I'm assuming most of you would have the Sentinel from the PvE dungeons. The ranked one, later on, is a bit expensive, but it's an option there. And of course, the set jewel, and I say the set jewel, I'm running Warlord for the armor debuff. You could be running the Shield Master one, or a combo, and whatever else you need there. For the weapons, you can go with Fortress Handgun and Fortress Wrench. That's for the aggressive profile. I'm going to somewhere in the middle. Otherwise, you could also use the scenario weapons, which give you HP regeneration along with a lot more anti-critical chance to be a little bit more tanky. But I don't feel it's necessary in an organized warband, provided you're going to have your tank and your healer with you and you're going to be doing your job. For the talismans, you have a few options here as well, depending on the playstyle you're going to go for. You can go for 8 times weapon skill, which gives you a little bit of parry. Not going to save you, but it will increase your armor penetration, which could come handy to amplify the damage you do. Or you can go 8 times ballistics if you want to hit the soft cut, or give you some options on replacing some of the tactics, still maintaining high damage. Or you can go for wounds if you feel you're not having enough survivability, or you can mix and match those. Personally, I'm okay with the gameplay and at 8,210 HP, so I'm usually playing with weapon skill. Now for our stats, we're going to have ballistics at 847 plus the pot of 100, making it 947. Weapon skill 423, that gives us a 30.2% armor penetration. I know it's not great, but it helps. And remember, it's not our job to do damage on this. Wounds 8,210, and with an armor pot of 825, we have a total armor of 2,765. We have a very tiny little chance to crit, which is 10%, and of course we have 0% to be critted, or negative, depending how many points we're going to decide to put on our Renown points. Now for Renown, we're going to go for 3 futile strikes to bring our chance to be critically hit to 0 or below. 3 times Theft Defender, a little bit of dodge and disrupt, never hurt anybody from the range to get some defenses there. Definitely 5 times Vigor, that will be our wounds buff. And then we have very few points, so I've decided to go with 2 marksmen for ballistics, 1 for impetus for the initiative, more anti-crit the better, and 1 in toughness just because I didn't know where else to put it. As always, you can play a little bit with this if you want, but I definitely recommend get the futile strikes for sure, and the wounds after that. You could possibly go a different path if you want to. So let's go ahead and see which paths we're going to be picking for this build. For this build, we're going to start with the path of Grenadier, in which, because I am wearing the full Warlord, we also get 2 points already on that. We're going to go all the way up to 13 points, and we're going to grab Napalm. And right underneath that, we're also going to take Dazzling Flash. This is the tactic that will increase the casting time of enemy healers and spellcasters by 50% using a Flashbang Grenade and Phosphorus Shells, the classic AoE, which is the one that's going to be proccing most of our armor debuff along with Barney Blast. We're going to see how this is going to be applied later. Then we're going to move to the right there, and we're going to go for the Path of Tinker, again all the way up to 13 points, where we're going to grab Electromagnet so we can pull our enemies and at the same time interrupt them and put them out of position. Here you could potentially go for the Backman's Best if you wanted to, but we're part of a warband. Remember, we're going to have our healers and our tanks. So I've picked Lightning Rod because Lightning Rod does a lot of damage. It's on the floor, and you can combine this with the pool and the Lightning Rod, and we'll see some things we can do there. Let's have a quick look at morals and tactics we're going to need for this build. For the morals, concealment will give us 7 seconds of 100% dodge and disrupt, which could save our life and allow us to do our job with the backlines a little bit better if the enemy has a lot of range hitting us. It's one of those that I like. Alternatively, we could go for point blank if you have some damage and an extra punt. But in a warband setup, you need something that covers more players. For Morale 2, I would definitely recommend Focus Mind, which will allow us for 10 seconds to remove and ignore all rooting and snaring, giving us a lot of mobility at the back line so they can't control us. Our job is to control them. If you feel that you want to help on a morale bomb with your warband, that's your playstyle. You could always replace that with mortar rounds and maybe use one of the tactics, which reduces the downtime if you are knocked down, or rooted, the Stoutness of Stone, which will allow you to recover from stuns and knockdowns by 50%. Cannon Smash is a must. Maybe you want to finish some of the backline, someone's coming over. It was one of the best Morale 3 we have as engineers. And for Morale 4, Hail of Doom and Focus Fire. I say Focus Fire is a skill, you combine that with Focus Fire to apply maximum damage output. For tactics, we really want to have the Dazzling Flash, which will increase the cast time of the healers. That's the most important, not the spellcasters like Magus or Socks that might be at the backlines. You want to be increasing that. That means you're adding a 2.5 second cast time on the AoE heal, and a warband without very fast AoE heals, it's almost dead. Single target will pick up mainly, a target or a DPS, but it won't help much. We're also going to be running Pierce Defenses, which is going to help our melee do more damage by reducing block, dodge, and parry by 15%. So the Slayers and the Lions and any other range we have will be able to get more hits into the enemy warband. Include on that one the debuff from the armor from the full Warlord. And I think we have some nice debuffs that are going to make the job of everybody else in the warband a bit easier. Well-oiled machine, of course, to drop our turrets instantly, because we're going to be combining this with the typical explosion, blow up our turrets. and 2 AoE knockdown will self-destruct. Masterful Aim is just to get some damage out there. This is the one you could potentially change if you put all your talismans in ballistics. You'll have more than 160 that the skill gives you, and then you can have an option, and I would recommend to go for Clever Recovery. So if you have low damage, as we already have, we don't have the critical, you have better chances because of your low ballistic to be dodged, and you're going to be throwing grenades around, doing other things, so that might give you a lot more AP to keep you going to do your job on the backlines. So at this point I think we covered everything you need to make this build, and I think it's time for us to have a quick summary right now of what are the benefits, the positives and the negatives of this build, and then go over to the dummies and I'll give it a try to give you a little bit of the game plan of this build. Let's have a look at first with the negatives of this build, which is low DPS, as we mentioned, low survivability because you are at the back lines pretty much on your own, and independent gameplay. Independent gameplay can be a problem for some people. What do we mean by independent play? You're not going to be going along with the mass of your warband. If your warband is going straight forward, you're going out to the left behind the enemy lines, so out to the right behind the enemy lines. You got to move independently. You got to play on your own while having the support of the warband at the same time. We'll see the gameplay how it plays out, but that can be a problem for some people because hopefully you're going to be an organized warband on Discord, and you're going to be hearing all the commands, move forward, attack this, attack it, which you have to ignore. So that can be a little bit complicated for some people, but I'm sure once you get the hang of it, you'll see it can be a fun build and a useful build for some situations. Now, there's only 3 little negatives there, but there's a lot of positives. As a Grenadier / Tinkerer, you have mobility. You're going to be applying armor debuff, which is about 800 armor debuff to the enemy warband, allowing for your melee and everybody else to deal more damage. You're going to be debuffing 15% dodge, block, and parry from your enemies, so more damage goes through. You have AoE punt for the backline to interrupt the healers. You have AoE pull to interrupt them as well, depending on the situation. AoE knockdown, AoE root. So if anybody comes back to stop you, you can root them and pull forces from the front line to the back line. Of course, 50% cast time increase with dazzling, the tactic, and we'll also have a single target pun or an extra one with morale, so you can knock a few people off if you need to, which you can also use as an interrupt. So let's go to the dummies now and have a little look how this plays out, so you get the idea of how you could possibly utilize this a little bit better. Alright, here we are, the dummies, guys. Now, I don't know how easy or how difficult it's going to be for me to show you, but I'll give it the best try. So, let's assume that the dummies on this side is our warband and the dummies over that side is the enemy warband. So these two guys are going to clash from left to right and right to right, somewhere in the middle. So if your warband is going to engage here, your job is to be, for example, somewhere over here. So your warband is those targets over there. This is the enemy warband over there. Your job is to be somewhere around here, supported by a healer. So once they start fighting, and this Bright Wiz is actually helping them somewhere there in the middle and the fight starts, you're gonna have to go all around them, possibly mount it. What you want to do is, you want to drop a turret, preferably the flame turret, to start getting some dodge and disrupt. And the first thing I usually do is go for the pull over there, right? Drop a landmine to the right. This is independent. This is in case somebody wants to come back. So with the pull, we've already pulled the healers, which are clustered. Usually healers are clustered at the back. This is why once they learn, I said at the beginning of this video, if they learn what you do, they're going to reposition and try and counter you. Healers usually cluster at the back. So the first pull, you just did an interrupt for them, right? So there goes one massive heal that didn't happen while your friends are fighting over there. The next thing is to target one of the healers that go for the dazzling here and the flashbang grenade, which is going to explode, has an AoE effect, and is going to increase the casting times. Now, usually the healers might start moving this way, someone might want to stagger you. You play a little bit around there, you can add a little bit of damage with lightning rod around you if someone is coming over, and you're also going to try and explode your turret. If someone didn't get pulled, doesn't have an immunity from the landmine, you stagger them. Even one healer out is good. And then you drop another one that's almost like no cooldown. It's 5 seconds, but you already done it. So this is how you play with the Backlines. You can keep adding some damage like this. You're definitely going to have some damage coming over your warband, and you keep playing with a knockdown. You keep playing with the cooldowns here, with the pull. Somebody didn't get pulled, you go for AoE hunt with Strifling Run, and you just do this little gameplay at the back. Keep dropping landmines. People, even if they have immunity, in the panic you're probably going to be creating at the back, there's a very good chance they won't even know they have or they don't. It's still damage, it's still something for you to do. So that is your first job. Go at the back lines, do a pull, drop a lightning rod there. If you're getting some heavy fire from range, you have your morale here. On this one I have mortar, but you can have focus mine so you won't be slow. If you're running backwards, someone's chasing you, you can always hit barbed wire, root them, play the game, split up the enemy warband, weaken them a little bit. Maybe someone will, a chopper for example, or a mortar will come to you, be far away from the guard if they didn't realize. There's a lot of things that can happen in that, and this is pretty much what you want to do. Small repeat, pull, lightning rods, AoE punts, knockdown, increase the casting time, and that is your first job here. Now your second job is to debuff dodge, block and parry, which you can easily do by dropping a napalm in the middle of the fight. So any enemy units that's going to run through this, they're all going to get debuff. So you have a permanent, constant dodge, block and parry debuff on the battlefield. If you've done your job and the healers have run away, if you don't want to follow them, you can take a breather for yourself and start applying your armor debuff with phosphorus shells. If you're already winning the fight there, you know, that's one way of doing it. And you can go in and start bundle blasting, keep the armor debuff on and napalm on. So with napalm on and body blasting, you have dodge, block and parry debuff and the armor debuff going on in the middle there. You're moving backwards towards your warband or forwards if you have them on the run. And this is pretty much what you want to do. Now in between, yes, you want to throw some grenades like acid bomb left or right. That would be great. Acid bomb and any other AoE grenade like fragmentation will apply dodge, block and parry debuff, but the armor debuff you can only apply effectively with phosphorus shells or bundle blast. So you're gonna have to be doing a little bit of a combination. You could be at the back here, maybe, I don't know, knock them down, do 1 or 2 bundle blasters in the mass, drop your napalm, go back, do AoE interrupt, drop a little bit of damage if no one is chasing you, do a dot on the run, jump a little bit, taunt some people to come over, drop your turret again, wait for the cooldown, interrupt again. That is the most important one, interrupt with a cast time increase. So, and that's the gameplay. You don't really deal damage, you try and apply napalm for the dodge, disrupt, phosphorus shell for the armor along with button blast and interrupting the healers. Play the game at the back, fund them, pull them, increase the casting times. It's a very mobile, very interesting gameplay. Like I said, you will not see any serious numbers popping up, but you can modify that a little bit if you want. And as long as people don't know why you're going over there and don't pay attention to you, you're just an engineer, you can have a lot of fun controlling that fight. Give it a try, let me know what you guys think, and if you need some help, maybe I didn't explain something too clear here, put it down in the comments, send me a Discord PM, and we'll talk again. I hope you like this. It's a very fun build to play with.